All right, let's talk about China. Now, from the outside, it's so easy to see this country as just one massive, single thing. But if you look closer, it's really a story of two very different worlds, coexisting in this constant, high-stakes balancing act. So let's dive in and unpack it.
Here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll introduce this whole idea of two Chinas. Then, we're going to meet the two groups at the heart of it all, the anywheres and the somewheres. After that, we'll see where their worlds crash into each other, and finally, we'll look at the incredible balancing act the Communist Party has to pull off to manage everything.
Okay, so let's set the stage. On the surface, China projects this image of total unity, of a single nation moving with a single purpose. But right underneath that is this deep, managed split in society. And, understanding that split is absolutely the key to understanding China today.
And that really forces us to ask a pretty provocative question, one to keep in the back of your mind as we go through this. Is China really one country? Or is it maybe more accurate to think of it as two completely different societies living under one flag, each with its own set of dreams and its own vision for the future?
To get our heads around this, we're going to use a really helpful concept, the anywheres/somewheres framework. Now, the basic idea is that society has two big groups. You've got the anywheres. They're the mobile, global, cosmopolitan elite. And then you have the somewheres, the folks who are deeply rooted in their local communities and traditions. But here's the twist for China, and it's a big one. This isn't just some natural social trend. It's a divide that is actively and very carefully managed by the state.
So let's meet our first group, the anywheres. These are for sure the big winners of China's incredible economic rise. They are the face of its global ambition.
Think of these folks as the architects of what you might call global China. Their whole project is about restoring China to what they see as its rightful place as a great power, creating this amazing blend of ancient history and the absolute latest in tech and finance.
So who are they really? Well, what's so fascinating is their dual identity. They have world-class skills, maybe they were even educated overseas, but they are intensely nationalistic. They're the tech billionaires in Shenzhen, the high-flying financiers in Shanghai. They all cluster in these hyper-modern Tier 1 cities, and they genuinely see their mission as pushing China's rise onto the world stage.
Okay, so that's one side of the coin. Now let's flip it over and meet the other China. This is the world of the somewheres, the huge population that really forms the bedrock of the nation, the guardians of tradition, and crucially, stability.
So if the anywheres are building global China, the somewheres are the foundation of rooted China. Their world isn't about disruption and rapid change. It's about stability, holding on to tradition, and a belief in slow, steady progress, all under the party's guidance.
For them, identity isn't about a global career. It's tied to their home village, their laojia, to their family and their culture. We're talking about farmers, factory workers, small-town shopkeepers spread all across China's massive interior. And politically, this is so important. They are the silent base of the party's support. Why? Because they credit the party with bringing stability and lifting hundreds of millions out of poverty. It's a very real, tangible bargain. And when you put them side by side like this, wow, the contrast is it's stark. You've got global versus local, a love for change and innovation versus a deep need for stability and tradition. The flashy coastal megacities versus the quiet rural heartland. One group looks out at the world, the other looks inward, and is pretty skeptical of all that disruption. It's really two completely different ways of seeing the world, all inside one country.
Okay, so we've met our two groups. Now, where do they actually interact? What happens when these two Chinas meet? Because let me tell you, they definitely collide.
The most obvious collision point? It's money, the economy. I mean, just look at these numbers for a second. The average person in an anywhere city like Beijing or Shanghai makes more than 4 times what someone in a somewhere province like Gansu makes. This isn't just a gap, it's a massive chasm that shapes everything about your life, from your opportunities to your dreams.
And who lives inside that chasm? This many people. Nearly 300 million migrant workers. That number is just staggering. They're literally the human bridge that connects these two worlds. But they're also a human barrier, because they often can't fully belong to either place. So what keeps this barrier locked in place? Well, it's a system called the hukou. Basically, it's a household registration that ties all your social benefits, like healthcare for your kids or where they can go to school, not to where you live and work, but to where you were officially born.
And the human cost here is immense. It means a migrant worker in Shanghai might not be able to send their child to a local school, forcing them to leave their kids behind in their home village with grandparents. It effectively creates a permanent underclass of outsiders in their own country.
Okay, so this all leads us to the final, and honestly the most critical piece of the whole puzzle. With divides this deep, how on earth does the country hold together? Well, this is where the Chinese Communist Party comes in, performing this nonstop, incredibly delicate balancing act.
See, the party's role isn't just to govern in the traditional sense. It positions itself as the one and only referee, the only force that can possibly understand, manage, and harmonize the totally different dreams and demands of both the anywheres and the somewheres.
And their core strategy for this is a masterful dual narrative. It's brilliant, really. To the anywheres, the message is all about national greatness, becoming a tech superpower, and projecting strength globally. It speaks to their ambition. But to the somewheres, the message is about social stability, restoring national dignity, and protecting Chinese culture. It speaks to their values. Two different messages from one party designed to hold two Chinas together.
So the big takeaway here is that China's incredible stability isn't an accident. It's not just a given. It is the direct result of this constant, high-stakes, day-in and day-out management. The party is always tweaking the dials, adjusting policies and messaging to keep the forces of global change and the forces of local tradition in this very fragile balance.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? As the global ambitions of the anywheres get even bigger, and the anxieties of the somewheres maybe get deeper, can this delicate balancing act go on forever? Can one party really continue to manage the completely different dreams of two Chinas? That is the central challenge facing the country in the 21st century.